In 1996, Blue, your rival in Pokemon, was the first time the concept of a rival was done so well in a video game. We had great rivals in anime, movies, and books, but the video game, despite being interactive, took quite a while to popularize this archetype. There were some good attempts like the aforementioned Blue, Cypher from Final Fantasy VIII, or Miles Edgeworth from Ace Attorney. All great, but none reached the top. Maybe because they were games in which we were not really the ones who controlled every action. There was a separation between player and avatar. It was our Pokemon or Squall fighting, not us. Phoenix Wright constantly dialogues without our participation. Then came Devil May Cry, an action game, where we could finally feel the conflict in our own hands with an excellent combat system that forced us to give it our all. And with Devil May Cry 3, finally came the best rival in gaming, Vergil. Vergil is the creator of the video game rival as much as Super Mario is the creator of platformers. Without Dante vs. Vergil, we would never have had Bayonetta vs. Jean, Raiden vs. Sam, or Jean vs. Azel. I wonder if any of you will recognize the letter without googling it. But before we talk about Vergil, we have to talk about his predecessor, Dante's rival in the first installment, Nello Angelo. Devil May Cry 1 is very different to the rest of the games of the franchise. For example, instead of fighting a variety of bosses, we fight a few 3 times, each one harder than the last. But among these enemies, Nello Angelo is special. For starters, he's the only one that Dante likes because he doesn't attack immediately, challenges Dante honorably, and waits on an open space where they can have a clean, fair fight without holding back. Nello Angelo is also the only humanoid boss in the game, but it's more than that, he's practically a clone of Dante. His sword strikes are exactly the same as ours, the only difference is that he can throw a fireball as a projectile. But this is to compensate that we have firearms and he doesn't, and in fact, we'll learn this move later, it's Ifrit's Meteor. This movement copy is what makes Nello Angelo a good rival because you fight as equals. It's more satisfying to win, you know you prove being the superior fighter. In the following cutscene, Nello manages to disarm Dante and grab him, but when he sees his amulet, a gift to Dante from her mother, he seems to suffer from this sight and flees, establishing a mystery. The second battle is the least memorable, but Nello does what every good rival should, evolve just like we do. Now that we have Ifrit, a weapon that allows us to perform punches and kicks, Nello will use these same melee attacks, again facing us on equal terms. But in the third battle, things get serious when Nello takes off his helmet, revealing that he resembles Dante in more ways than just his moveset, as he is a man with white hair. During this final fight, Nello Angelo finally shows some independence, being more than just an evil clone when he performs a unique attack that Dante cannot imitate, the Spirit Swords. When Nello falls, he vanishes into the night sky and leaves behind an amulet identical to Dante's. It turns out that our protagonist's amulet was just a half. If you examine it in the menu, you will see that it is a gift from Eva, his mother, with the inscription, "For Dante and Vergil." Dante believed his brother was dead, but he was mistaken. Mundus captured Vergil and tortured him until he could enslave him and turn him into what he hated the most, a demon condemned to follow the orders of the Prince of Darkness. His only moment of freedom during almost a decade was not killing Dante after remembering his mother, symbolized by the amulet. If any of you entered this video without having played Devil May Cry and said, "What? Nello Angelo was Vergil all this time! Vergil was Dante's rival since the first game!" Just leave me something in the comments, I'll enjoy that. After Devil May Cry 3, it's surprising how little importance is given to this moment when you return to the first game, as Dante doesn't react to this terrible discovery, nor does he seem to care about his brother's fate. We see him fade away, but what does that mean? Is he dead? Has he been freed from his slavery? Is he okay, or has being Nello Angelo taken a toll on him, physically or mentally? At least the game presents this resolution as the end of an era. This victory against his dark counterpart is the moment where Dante goes from being the son of the legendary knight to a legendary knight in his own right. It's like a family reunion, the amulet of the two brothers, a gift from their mother, combined with their father's sword, becomes the ultimate blade. But we're not talking about Dante, we're talking about Vergil. and we would have to wait 2 more games to see how he ended up becoming Nello Angelo. Devil May Cry 3 is the game that made Vergil so famous and popularized the rival archetype in video games. The game is aware that the sibling rivalry between these half-demons will be the heart of the story and doesn't waste any time. The first thing you see is Dante and Vergil fighting while Lady narrates, apparently ending with Dante's death. This beginning is brilliant. It fills you with anticipation, with the desire to start playing to see what's going to happen. It's funny, since it's a prequel to Devil May Cry 1, we know how the story is going to end, with Dante victorious and Vergil being captured by Mundus, but from the very first minute we have only questions. When we start the game properly, the first 2 missions are used both mechanically and cinematically to demonstrate the enormous difference in both attitude and power between the brothers. Dante is stabbed by several minor demons, but he takes it as a nuisance and defeats them without any problems. The next mission introduces us to a greater demon. The game deceives you, making you believe it's a boss fight, when it's just a slightly more powerful enemy than usual. Someone playing for the first time will struggle during the battle and believe it is a boss, especially because Dante fails to finish it off. This kind of giant reaper flees. Unfortunately for it, it decides to attack Vergil, who finishes it off with a single strike without even bothering to look at it. The game has made it abundantly clear in an instant that we have no chance against Vergil, literally with Dante from the ground looking up at the top of the Temenigru Tower, where Vergil, who has easily defeated a powerful enemy, awaits him. The following missions are presented as Herculean trials for Dante to have the simple right to be at the same level as Vergil. When you reach the end of Mission 7, you are surprised, as this battle you thought would be the final conflict is nothing more than the end of the first act. Vergil, as a good rival, is an enemy you face repeatedly. In this particular game, you have a fight with him at the end of each act. Now that we are facing him for the first time for real, it's a good time to discuss what makes him such a great rival. There is a formula for designing a rival. The objective is to create 2 characters who are very similar yet opposite at the same time. We could look at other examples, but it's not necessary. Vergil perfectly meets each and every one of the conditions. In terms of design, both are young men with white hair dressed similarly. Vergil wears blue and has his hair up, contrasting with his brother, who wears red and has his hair down. Their fighting styles couldn't be more different. Dante wields a large sword with both hands and firearms, while Vergil relies on his one-handed katana. And when he has to fight at a distance, given his disdain for crude human weapons, he uses magical spiritual swords. Their personalities continue along the lines of being similar and opposite. Both are very cocky. They like to mock their opponent theatrically. When they meet, the first thing they do is talk like this.
You sure know how to throw a party. No food, no drinks, and the only babe just left.
My sincerest apology, brother. I was so eager to see you, I couldn't concentrate on preparations for the bash.
But when we see them against enemies who are not each other, their cockiness is very different. Dante talks and mocks constantly, strikes the air, poses with a sword as if he were being filmed. Vergil remains silent and lets his opponent speak, waiting for the right moment to eliminate it with a single attack, smiling, knowing he is acting with maximum efficiency. But the biggest difference between them is their ideals. I will talk about this later, because while Vergil remains static, Dante's character evolves as the plot progresses. For now, as Lady says in the narration at the beginning, these 2 brothers fight because they enjoy it.
It seemed as if they derived some sort of twisted pleasure from this brotherly fighting.
There's a lot to analyze here, so let's take it one step at a time. Let's see. How is it that these 2 brothers enjoy fighting? Well, we won't see the details until Devil May Cry 5, but we know that Dante and Vergil's lives changed forever when they were just 8 years old. They were happily living with their mother until they were attacked by demons under orders to assassinate the offspring of the traitorous knight, Sparda. Both survived, but their mother did not. Both were deeply traumatized by this event, albeit in different ways, as will be explored in the 5th installment. and both believe the other had died. Both have turned the idea of family into a kind of fantasy, a life that was taken from them and that they will never have again, but suddenly they discovered that the other brother they thought was dead is alive. But when they found out, what could have been an emotional reunion was ruined when they saw that they were now on opposite sides. Dante starts a demon hunting business to protect humanity, but Vergil is determined to achieve supreme power, no matter how many humans he has to sacrifice for it. Unable to express their feelings due to pride and trauma, their battles are their only way of relating to one another. They may be violent confrontations, but at the same time, they are their only way to once again feel that familial connection they remember and wish to recover. We understand Vergil's motivation with the iconic words he says to his brother after defeating him in the first battle.
Foolishness, Dante. Foolishness. Might controls everything, and without strength, you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself.
Vergil talks about protecting. That is his great trauma. He was unable to protect his family, and of course he was. He was only 8 years old, but that's what traumas are like. They are not logical. From that moment, the ability to protect himself and others becomes an obsession for Vergil, until it becomes warped. Dante is a walking contradiction for Vergil, one he should confront, but his obsession blinds him. When Vergil believed he was the only survivor, he could excuse his action as what he had to do to protect himself. But now he should also protect Dante, and he doesn't. In fact, he attacks and injures him to achieve his goals. Vergil is lying to himself. He is a hypocrite, and he doesn't commit to any of his paths. If he really cared about protecting his loved ones, he wouldn't attack his brother. And if he were truly willing to do anything for power, he would kill him, and even though he has the opportunity, he doesn't. Arkham highlights this hypocrisy. Vergil decides to kill him because Arkham didn't kill his daughter when he found her in Temenigru. For Vergil, this is proof that he is not fully committed to the cause of obtaining power. Then, Arkham points out that Vergil hasn't killed a family member either, his brother. Vergil doesn't respond to this. He tells him to shut up and attacks.
What about you? You're an incomplete being as well. Both demon and human blood mingle in your veins.
Shut up.
And all this is at a narrative level. I haven't even talked about it at a mechanical level. In the first battle, Vergil holds back, fights on equal terms. He doesn't use his devil trigger as Dante hasn't unlocked it yet. Even holding back, he is the one that comes out victorious. As we progress through Act 2, unlike in Act 1, where Vergil was waiting at the top of the tower, he is living his own adventure with his own challenges. To the point that, just like Dante, he faces a boss and acquires a new weapon. By the time we meet again, the circumstances have changed. Dante continues with his taunting character, but he is starting to understand the situation he is in. And it shows when he speaks with a certain seriousness when mentioning his mother's amulet. And since Dante has unlocked his devil trigger and has been strengthened by the challenges of this game, Vergil no longer holds back. Everything we can do, he can do too. Just like us, he now has access to true weapons that he can switch at any time, uses a style, and unleashes his devil trigger, which has exactly the same properties as ours, boosting his strength and speed, granting him some armor and healing him, but it can only be used temporarily. This second fight is the favorite of many. As of all the duels in the entire franchise, it's the one that comes closest to being a battle of equals. But we must not forget that here Vergil is not the villain, he is the rival. After this battle, Arkham reveals himself to be the villain of this installment. Unlike Vergil, he does not have a charismatic personality or a story that allows you to empathize with his motivations. He is evil, with a simple and destructive malice. That's why Vergil doesn't hesitate to team up with his brother to defeat him. Arkham is just another obstacle that must be eliminated. For a brief moment, the two brothers fight together instead of against each other, and it's beautiful to see. Their bravado multiplies when they are together, without ignoring the fact that they behave like brothers. Vergil, the older sibling, annoys and bothers Dante, in this case, by striking his sword to be the first to attack Arkham.
Needs to learn the hard way.
They demonstrate their connection when they briefly exchange swords, and it turns out that both are capable of fighting in the same way as the other. The fight ends with the revelation that the word Dante said when dealing the final shot to Mundus in the first game was something both brothers used to say as children, and they finally have a chance to repeat it.
Remember what we used to say? Jackpot.
Unfortunately, Arkham's death means that the original conflict between the brothers must resume. This alliance has helped them repair their relationship. Their first dialogue is a classic childish tantrum.
Give that to me.
No way. You got your own.
Well, I want yours too.
But it's not enough. I haven't exaggerated when I call Vergil's need to gain more power an obsession. Dante has changed during this adventure, and now all he wants is to close the portal that has opened between the world of humans and hell. Many lives will be saved if Dante closes the portal, including ladies. If the portal opens, thousands will have to endure the same trauma as these two siblings. And there lies Vergil's drama. He's so suffocated by his own obsession that he doesn't care if his decisions cause others the same harm he suffered. The lives of others? His brother's life? None of that matters. He only cares about one thing.
I need more power.
Vergil was superior to Dante, but he's stagnant. As long as he clings to this obsession, he cannot grow any further. Dante understood that he was wrong about many things, and he makes an effort to change. He succeeds, and little by little, he improves as a person and as a warrior. He loses the first battle, ties in the second, and wins in the third, the final battle. A final battle against your rival, in which both of you give it your all. After being victorious, Dante declares that he will kill Vergil if necessary to do what is right, and it is clear that he doesn't enjoy this at all. After this, both brothers show the love they have for each other, but since both have practically zero emotional intelligence due to their traumas, they do it in their own way. Vergil will pursue his obsession to the depths of hell, and he knows that Dante would follow him to save him, so he frees him from that burden. He insists that he lets him go, making a calculated cut to only superficially wound his hand. It's his way of saying, "You've won. Go, enjoy it, and don't worry about me. I don't want you to condemn yourself to the same fate as mine." After escaping and closing the portal, leaving both brothers as far apart as they could be, Dante refuses to admit his sadness at losing his only family. Even when he cries, he is only willing to acknowledge it when Lady presents the situation in an impersonal manner.
Are you crying?
It's only the rain.
The rain already stopped.
Devils never cry.
I see. Maybe somewhere out there, even a devil may cry when he loses a loved one. Don't you think?
Maybe.
This is the drama of Devil May Cry 3, of two people who love each other and want to live together, but are unable to do so because of the trauma they carry. A simple story but deeply emotional, and the reason why this sibling rivalry became one of the most beloved stories in gaming. The drama continues after the credits. While Dante becomes a successful demon hunter, an exhausted Vergil encounters Mundus. Another thing that fuels his trauma and obsession is that he's incapable of refusing a fight. Running away would be admitting that someone is more powerful than him, and Vergil will never admit it, at least not consciously. He charges at Mundus, saying he can take him on, but he throws his katana's sheath to the ground. In Japan, when a samurai threw his sheath to the ground, it meant he was convinced he was going to die, and therefore, he wouldn't need it anymore. As we know from Devil May Cry 1, Vergil indeed loses and ends up enslaved by Mundus. It's ironic, when Devil May Cry 3 begins, Vergil is the most powerful being in the human world and the second most powerful in general. But his obsession leads him to create two entities more powerful than himself, Dante and Archon, and it ends up throwing him before the only being in the universe more powerful than him, a being he was saved from until he himself opened the portal to hell. It is true what Jean de La Fontaine said, "We find our destiny by the paths we take to avoid it." It is not exactly clear what happened to Vergil after being freed from being Nello Angelo. When Vergil reappears at the beginning of Devil May Cry 5, he's fucked up. Being Nello Angelo really messed him up. Let's not forget that in that transformation he had prominent blue veins and had grown abnormally to 3 meters or more. But between Devil May Cry 1 and 5 there are almost 15 years. What was Vergil's life like during that time? And knowing that he goes to Nero to retrieve Yamato, why does it take him years? I apologize for moving from analysis to discussing this apparent plot hole, but I'm really curious about it. We're talking about 15 years of life. If we assume that Vergil was ill and weak during all that time, his trauma of needing power must have grown immensely. But, well, let's interrupt this for a second to talk about his son, Nero. I have an entire video talking about Nero, but just as I had to talk a bit about Vergil there, I have to talk a bit about Nero here. Father and son are very connected and both must be discussed to understand their stories. With Nero, something brilliant was created. Dante is similar and opposite to Vergil. Nero is identical and opposite. How is that? Because they had opposite origins. Vergil lived happily and with family until he was 8 years old, when he lost them in a horrific way, creating a need to gain power to protect himself and his family, a need that turned into an obsession, until he harmed the family he swore to protect. Nero was abandoned by his mother and left in an orphanage. His childhood was lonely and miserable, but he was adopted. Although he lost his adoptive parents, he forged a strong family bond with his adoptive siblings, Credo and Kyrie, his adoptive sister who would later become his girlfriend. We see how Nero participates in the culture of the Order of the Sword despite how much it bothers him because Credo and Kyrie are part of that culture, and he is willing to endure it to be with them. He also hides his demonic arm for fear of being rejected by them. In summary, Vergil is willing to sacrifice his family to gain more power, and Nero is willing to sacrifice his power to keep his family. But this changes when Nero's family is threatened. When the possibility arises that Nero might lose his family, a similar need appears.
I need this. I need more power.
Fortunately, despite losing Credo, Nero has a stability that allows him to make better decisions. He has his own problems, but compared to the depressed Dante and the obsessive Vergil, he is the picture of mental health. Thanks to growing up surrounded by familial love instead of condemning its absence, he has a much better life than his father and uncle and makes better decisions. In Devil May Cry 5, this changes. Nero feels confident because he has the power to protect his family, but then the best dad in the world shows up and takes that power away from him. Upon losing his demonic arm, that hint we saw in Devil May Cry 4 that Nero could also become obsessed with gaining power like his father turns into a real problem. He starts making absurd decisions due to his obsession, just like his father. The game begins with Nero saying the same thing Vergil will say at the end.
I can still fight! Go! You're just dead weight!
I can still fight.
Nero facing Urizen is identical to Vergil facing Mundus, throwing himself into an impossible fight because not doing so would be admitting that he cannot protect his family, a thought so horrible that he cannot accept it, and leads him to run straight at a certain death. But Vergil has his own journey during this story. For the first time, instead of a rival, we see him as both protagonist and villain at the same time, given the decision he makes when he retrieves his sword. V tells us what was going on through Vergil's head after he recovered the Yamato.
Suffering defeat after defeat, that man's body was reaching its limit, breaking down. But he couldn't die yet. The man had a job that must be done. To defeat his twin brother.
It seems he reached a point where the only thing he could think about was killing Dante. It may seem strange, but from a certain point of view, Dante's victory led him to be trapped in hell, which led him to be enslaved by Mundus, which led him to what we see now. It seems that even V thinks this, as when he encounters a weakened and unconscious Dante, fury overcomes him and he almost kills him with his own sword. Vergil, half dead, decided to do what he couldn't in Devil May Cry 3, rid himself of his humanity, and uses the Yamato to split into two, his human half, V, and his demonic half, Urizen. But it's not as simple as one half and the other half. Basically, Urizen is Vergil's obsession with power given physical form, and he is absolutely pathetic. The only thing Urizen knows to do is yearn for power and insult everyone who has less power than him. That is, everyone. He has no personality or depth whatsoever. He becomes an extremely simple villain. But he is still part Vergil, and we managed to get something out of him, just one little thing. From this phrase, we can see that Vergil compares power with loss. He thinks that the more you lose, the more powerful you become. In this very game, it is revealed why Dante and Vergil possess the same trauma in such different ways. When the demons attacked, purely by chance, Dante was inside the house and Vergil outside. Eva was able to give Dante a final message and a piece of advice on how to live before being murdered. Dante had a farewell and a moment of love to remember. Vergil had nothing. It is possible that Vergil had to fight and even unlock his devil trigger at just 8 years old to survive. He lost his family, he lost his innocence, and he became more powerful. Years later, he came to believe that if he could rid himself of his humanity, he could get closer to his goals. Unfortunately, he did not understand the difference between surviving a loss and making a sacrifice. Vergil tried to sacrifice his love for his brother and failed. He didn't learn the lesson and then tried to sacrifice his entire humanity. But where we can really get some sauce is with V. V represents the kind of person Vergil would have become without his trauma. V is Vergil if we remove his obsession with power. During the game, you obtain a document that tells us how a young Vergil, before the tragedy, asked a neighbor for a book by William Blake. Vergil was on his way to becoming a lover of the arts, a poet, but the fateful day led him down another path. By shedding the need for power that dominated his personality, V regained some of the facets Vergil had as a child, particularly his love for poetry. But we also find that V does not have Vergil's emotional blindness or even Dante's. He has no fear in expressing what he truly thinks or feels. V admits to Nero what Vergil never admitted and probably never will.
The truth is, I wanted to be protected and loved, but I was alone. My only choice was to survive.
That is the summary of Vergil's trauma. It is the origin of his obsession with power, but he will never say it out loud. It is thanks to V that we have confirmation of what we could suspect and theorize. On another occasion, V admits to thinking about his mother. Can you imagine Vergil doing the same? I can't. And speaking of the topic, it's funny to see Nero and V interact so much with each other. They are father and son, but neither of them has a clue. Given Vergil's reaction later, it seems he believed Nero was Dante's son. It could explain why he was so willing to tear off his arm if he saw him as the son of his worst enemy. V helps Nero focus, They have several conversations, they support each other, particularly at the end, where Nero saves him from Malphas and carries his body when he can no longer move. Nero spends a large part of this game at a pretty low point, but even then he chooses to help someone before pursuing his selfish goal of getting revenge on Urizen. It's even better when you remember that he is helping his father without knowing it, and it is thanks to Nero that V reaches the end of the Qliphoth and can finally make amends for his mistake. For better or for worse, fusing with Urizen after he devoured the fruit of the demonic tree means that completely healthy and with all his power, the firstborn of Sparta has resurrected.
What is this?
Vergil. When Vergil returns, his confrontation with Dante is treated as inevitable, which is ridiculous when you see how different the circumstances are. To begin with, Vergil is no longer stagnant. Thanks to what he has learned as both V and Urizen, he is starting to question the things around him. Vergil openly shows kindness for the first time when he thanks Nero because he showed him kindness and helped him resurrect as V. While waiting for Dante, he meditates on what he told Urizen.
Yep. This is where it all started. That day Mother saved me and left you behind. The thing you don't know is, she tried to save you too. She kept searching and searching. Until I killed her.
That day, if our positions were switched, would our fates be different? Would I have your life and you mine?
This is something Vergil would have ignored in Devil May Cry 3. The thing is, Vergil has gotten exactly what he wanted: power. He is healed and the apple has powered him up to the same level as Dante, well above Mundus. He has even managed to free himself from his trauma as Nello Angelo, as his nightmares, personified in V's pets, Griffin, Shadow and Nightmare, sacrifice themselves so they won't have to return to Vergil, so they won't have to make him suffer again. When Dante and Vergil face each other, despite the circumstances being similar to Devil May Cry 3, with one brother demanding an object from the other to close a portal, the way the situation is handled couldn't be more different. The first time it was a dramatic showdown. Now it's like a game.
Hey, Vergil! Your portal opening days are over. Give me the Amato.
If you want it, then you'll have to take it.
Dante and Vergil are tremendously happy to be fighting, because as I said before, it means they are together. Fighting is the only way they have to express their family connection, but they refuse to admit it.
How many times have we fought?
Hard to say. It's the only memory I have of us since we were kids.
They justify themselves by telling each other that it is an eternal conflict, a battle of ideals. They will say anything to avoid showing what they really feel. V defined Dante and Vergil's conflict like this.
They're brothers? Why are they fighting each other?
To see one's justice through, a man must fight for it, even if the one who stands before him is his kin.
That's ridiculous.
The brothers of blood disagree on the very reason of their existence. They must fight.
But as Nero says, it's ridiculous. The fight ends early because Nero interrupts them, having discovered his own power. Both brothers lack emotional honesty, a quality that the new generation possesses. Nero arrives and lays all the cards on the table. This is not a battle for the fate of the universe, it's just a mere tantrum. Nero is ready to fight, not because he derives any enjoyment from it, nor to heal a trauma, but to bring peace, even if it has to be through force. The rules of the game are set because this is still just a game for Vergil. If Vergil defeats Nero, he will proclaim himself as the most powerful in the family and continue the conflict. If Nero wins, they will stop the nonsense and work together to close that portal once and for all. It is now when I must mention a funny fact. The name Nello Angelo is mistranslated. It should have been Black Angel in Italian, Nero Angelo, but due to an error, the R was changed to an L. Yes, Nero was supposed to be called the same as Nero Angelo. And now, when he appears with his devil trigger taking on an angelic form, you realize that the worst of Vergil, that forced transformation to a demonic slave, Nello Angelo, shares a name with the best of Vergil, his son, a human who uses his demonic legacy to embody the ideals of an angel, a Nero Angelo. Vergil will never admit it, but he couldn't be prouder of his son, powerful and with strong ideals. He doesn't take the defeat badly. He accepts it, obeys his son's will, and goes to close the portal, even though for that he will have to get trapped in hell again. Like Devil May Cry 3, the family separates, but it's completely different, because the first time Vergil left alone to pursue his obsession. Now, Vergil leaves as a sacrifice to appease his son, and he doesn't do it alone. He finally does it alongside his brother. Additionally, he gives his poetry book to Nero. For Vergil, who has a serious emotional block, this is extremely important, his way of assuring his son that he will return someday. When we see them again, it might seem like Nero hasn't achieved anything and they're fighting once more, but it turns out they've transformed their conflict into what it always should have been, a pure and friendly rivalry, which Vergil clearly enjoys. We see him starting to express himself more casually, like a human.
Score for Dante. I'm up one.
When did you learn to count? We're even.
Even in the humorous dialogues that end the special edition, there is something to learn. The brothers mock each other about how each was afraid of one of their parents. Dante, who struggled to accept his demonic side, was afraid of his father, the demon, while Vergil, who struggled to accept his humanity, was afraid of his mother, the human.
Let me jog your memory. A little Vergil. Crying in the corner. Because mommy got mad.
I seem to recall you crying every time Father raised his voice.
It's funny that being trapped in hell is a happy ending for Vergil, because he has finally restored his relationship with his brother, and he knows he has a son waiting for him, a son who will continue the legacy of Sparta. I guess the moral is that it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you are with your loved ones. The game ends with a smiling Dante saying the word they both love to say as children. But what if I told you there's one more thing that allows us to delve into Vergil's mind with even greater precision? When this game was released, each playable character had a main theme. Nero's theme in particular became one of the most beloved songs in the franchise, but since Vergil was not playable, he had no song for himself. Until the special edition came out, where Vergil is playable and debuted with his own theme, which completely broke the internet. Bury the Light. This song, which many have called one of the best songs ever made, has become a huge meme. Now it's impossible to think of Vergil and not think of Bury the Light. But it's much more than a song, it's an essay about Vergil's thoughts transformed into sound. Someone with more knowledge about melodies, harmonies, and instrumentation could give you more information than I can, but just with the lyrics and the melody at the end, there's plenty to talk about. Although I had to use the V-Sings version instead of the official one, because it turns out that if you put Bury the Light in your videos, an idiot comes along who has tricked YouTube into thinking the song is theirs and they take down your video. This V-Sings version is of hundreds of people singing, edited so that they all sound at once. It's really cool. Well, getting back to the song itself, there are parts of it that are pure badassery. It's Vergil shouting from within, enjoying every drop of power he has accumulated on his arduous journey.
I am the storm that is
But when the pace slows down, we see another story. The story of a person suffering, who feels they cannot stray from their path no matter how wounded they are.
Inherit the nightmare, surrounded by fate. Can't run away. Keep walking the line between the lines. Let us stray.
The only moment when doubts and fears fade away is when he encounters the truth.
Through vacant halls I won't surrender. It's formation time. No, Dad, no! The truth revealed in eyes of ember. We fight through fire and ice forever. Two souls once lost and now they remember.
That truth, those two souls that now remember, are Dante and Vergil. The song tells us how he only feels good when he's fighting with his brother, the two lost children who find each other in conflict. Immediately, as if trying to avoid these thoughts, he tries to show off again, but this time it doesn't work. The melody goes all out, it's spectacular, but the lyrics, when you bother to listen to them, are depressing. Vergil is the storm. He is chaos, he is power, but he is alone. And all because he believes that his humanity is his weakness. His love for his brother and his mother are weaknesses. Weaknesses he must eliminate. Bury, hence the name of the song. Bury the light. The complete opposite of what Nero proclaims in his song, Devil Trigger.
Embrace the darkness that's within me. No hiding in the shadows anymore. When this wickedness consumes me, nothing can save you and there's no way out.
Nero ascends when he accepts all the bad within him, while Vergil descends when he rejects all the good within him. But then comes the grand finale. No matter how hard he tries, Vergil could not bury the love for his brother and mother. And undoubtedly, he will not be able to bury the strong love for his son. Love that he will never express in words, but it is there with intensity. And we see this because when the song ends, the lyrics disappear, but the melody becomes Nero's theme. Just as Vergil will never admit what he feels, the lyrics disappear. But not expressing it doesn't mean he doesn't feel it, hence the melody. And the fact that it happens right at the end is even more symbolic. His new journey begins with his son. I would have liked to end the video at this climax with the incredible song, but there's still something else I want to talk about. Vergil has always been very mimetic, but in Devil May Cry 5, and particularly when this song was made, it reached an absurd level. What used to be several memes lovingly mocking his voice, his phrases, and him being a filthy otaku suddenly turned into a sea of memes. Someone made a mod that replaced his demonic chair with a plastic one, which turned out to be hilarious for many, including myself. Jokes about his incredible song became numerous and popular, to the hyperbole that the song is so good it emanates from Vergil himself. Among my favorites we have Vergil's chair using 1% of his power to withstand a storm.
I am the storm that is approaching, provoking black clouds in ice.
And Vergil enjoying his theme song from the top of the Clifoth.
I am reclaimer of my name.
And this makes me wonder, of all the characters to make memes about, why Vergil? From a superficial point of view, it's because he's cool and powerful, literally a power fantasy. Part of his fame is because of this. He's one of the best final bosses in gaming. His final battle in Devil May Cry 3 is one of the hardest, and every time he's playable, he is broken! He is much more powerful than the other playable characters. Even in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, he is the most powerful character in the game. It's like his need for power manifests in the programmers. I mean, please, in Devil May Cry 5, Dante needs to maintain the highest style rank in combat, SS, to be able to use a special ability that allows him to transform into Sin Devil Trigger for a few seconds without spending any of his bar. This means that a very good player will be able to use Sin Devil Trigger indefinitely. It's a really cool mechanic. Vergil just can always do it. Vergil doesn't need to have the style maxed out or anything, really, he can do it anytime, because fuck it! And I could talk about things like this for another entire video, but this is the most extreme example. Okay, he's powerful, but if that were all, Dante and Nero would also have mountains of memes, which they have a few but not even close to this level. Another reason why Vergil seems to have so many memes is because he doesn't try to be funny. Dante and Nero try to be funny on purpose. Dante in particular takes it to an extreme with absurd scenes, while Vergil tries to be taken seriously, so putting him next to his family members creates a very good comedic dynamic. And when Vergil is given the same comedy, it's even funnier because you're seeing it through the most serious character. But the truth, the real reason why so many memes are made about Vergil, the real answer is this very video. This entire video exists to enjoy the complexity and drama of the character that is Vergil. Someone traumatized who becomes obsessive, taking years rejecting his loved ones until finally one of them manages to pull him out of this spiral of chaos and suffering. I finished the video about Roxas talking about how perhaps what makes us connect so much with these characters is the pain. And I think with Vergil it's exactly the same. We take all the bad things about this character and through comedy we turn them into something good, something funny. If there wasn't something special about Vergil, something that affects us as people, something we can share, the V Sings version of Bury the Light, in which hundreds of people collaborated, would have never existed. Please, an internet guy made his own version of Bury the Light, but he changed the lyrics so that instead of being about the big drama of the internal conflict, it's about how Vergil wants to escape paying child support to his son, who owes him the 18 years he abandoned him. This man is my hero. I leave you in the description a link to this song and to the official themes of Vergil and Nero. It's over. You know, I made a video analyzing Nero. I decided to make one for him and not Vergil, not only because he's my favorite character of the franchise, but because I thought there's been enough people talking about Vergil. But I thought, what the hell? Maybe there's hidden gold here and you're ignoring it, and thus this video was born. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's see if I can come up with another character as interesting to analyze. I had a lot of fun making this video. Till next time.